When children grow up and step away from our embrace to build their own lives, have you ever realized that deep in your heart, they still remain the little ones who need protection? And then, driven by worry and boundless love, you try to care for and protect them as you did when they were small, unaware that this very love can sometimes unintentionally create distances, leaving cracks that are hard to mend. Let us listen to the story of Margaret, a mother who once held onto love with strictness only to learn how to love through understanding. In a small town in the Midwest of the United States, Margaret, a resilient single mother, ran a large cattle ranch. After losing her husband in a car accident when their only son, Benjamin, was just 5 years old, Margaret resolved to raise him to be a strong and independent man. Margaret adopted a strict parenting approach. She set clear rules. Household chores must be completed on time. Academic performance must always be excellent, and complaining about difficulties was not allowed. "Life out there will never be lenient with you," she often said. Margaret didn't just teach through words, but also through her actions. Every morning, she rose at the crack of dawn to care for the livestock and prepared a hearty breakfast for Benjamin before he left for school. She hoped that her hard work and perseverance would set an example for her son, teaching him that success never comes easily. As Benjamin grew older, the pressure of his mother's expectations became suffocating. He became a successful lawyer at a prestigious law firm in Chicago, but the emotional bond between him and his mother grew distant. To Benjamin, Margaret no longer seemed like a loving mother, but rather a cold supervisor who always demanded more from him. Their phone calls became increasingly infrequent. Although Margaret sometimes wanted to express her feelings to her son, she didn't know how to do so. Everything changed after a life-altering event. During a business trip, Benjamin was in a serious car accident, suffering a brain injury that caused temporary memory loss. He forgot his job, his relationships, and even his memories of his mother. With no other choice, Margaret brought him back to the ranch to care for him. At first, Margaret struggled to cope with the transformed Benjamin, no longer a brilliant lawyer but a man with the mind of a child. Margaret taught him the basics: brushing his teeth, dressing himself, eating meals, and doing household chores. Through this process, Margaret realized that love and patience were far more important than the strictness she had once adhered to. One afternoon, while tidying up an old barn, Benjamin accidentally found a small wooden box covered in dust. Curiously, he opened it and discovered familiar items from his childhood: an old scarf his mother had knitted for him when he was 7, a few family photos, and, most notably, a notebook filled with Margaret's neat handwriting. The notebook detailed the days she toiled to prepare for his schooling, the meals he liked, and personal affirmations she had written to herself. "Everything I do is for you. You must be strong, Benjamin." Holding the notebook, Benjamin felt a powerful wave of memories. He recalled the mornings when his mother stayed up late and woke up early to prepare his meals, and the days she worked tirelessly to provide for the two of them. These memories surfaced not just as fragments, but as a vivid, warm recollection he thought he had lost. His heart ached with regret for past misunderstandings, yet it was also filled with gratitude. His memories had returned. That evening, Benjamin brought the box and notebook to his room. He flipped through the handwritten pages, reading each note, each reminder, and each plan his mother had meticulously crafted for him to have a better life. He said nothing to Margaret, but a quiet fire of realization burned within him. The images of his mother's sacrifices were no longer disjointed pieces, but now formed a complete picture. The next morning, mother and son worked together in the kitchen to bake. Benjamin sat silently, watching his mother. His eyes lingered on her hands, calloused and strong, yet bearing the marks of years of hard work. He waited for the right moment to tell her that his memory had returned. But as Margaret deftly kneaded dough, Her figure seemed to embody all the quiet sacrifices she had made over the years. Benjamin could no longer hold back. He looked up at her, his gaze lingering, and softly asked, his voice tinged with emotion, "Mom, why didn't you ever hug me like other mothers did?" Margaret froze, her hands suspended in mid-motion. Her eyes widened, then softened into a look of both confusion and astonishment. Her heart raced as she wondered if this was a random question or if her son truly remembered everything. She turned to face Benjamin, searching his eyes. When she saw the profound understanding in his gaze, a wave of joy surged through her. She stepped closer, placed her hands on his shoulders, and asked in a trembling but deeply emotional voice, "Benjamin, have you remembered?" Benjamin nodded, a faint smile on his lips, though his eyes glistened with tears. "I remember, Mom. Everything. And now I understand everything you've done for me." Margaret couldn't contain her happiness. Her eyes welled up and a tear rolled down her cheek as she whispered, "Thank God." She gripped his shoulders tightly as if to confirm that this was real and not a dream. Her voice, softer and more tender than ever, broke the silence. "I was afraid. If I was too soft, you'd be weak. I thought you needed to be strong to thrive in an unfair world." Benjamin was quiet, his eyes falling to his flower-covered hands. A gentle smile crossed his face as he replied, his voice thick with emotion. "But Mom, sometimes all I needed was to know you loved me, for being your son, not for what I achieved." His words dissolved the distance that had once existed between them. Margaret felt a profound happiness, not just because her son had recovered, but because their relationship had regained the deep and sincere connection she had always longed for. In the days that followed, Benjamin and Margaret spent time together doing small, simple things that had never been part of their previous lives. Planting flowers in the early morning sunlight, tending to the livestock with care, and sometimes just sitting on the porch, watching the sunset. Benjamin gradually regained his childhood memories. He recalled the mornings when his mother stayed up late to prepare his breakfast, and the Christmas nights when they decorated the tree together. These memories, once thought to be forgotten, now became sacred threads that bound the two of them closer in their maternal bond. One day, Benjamin decided to enter a small cooking competition in town. When Margaret expressed her concern, he smiled and said, "I want to do this, not to prove anything to anyone, but just to make you happy." They prepared together. Margaret helped him select ingredients while Benjamin crafted his own recipe. The competition unfolded in a warm and supportive atmosphere. Although he didn't win first place, he amazed everyone with his culinary skills and genuine passion. Back at home, Benjamin hugged his mother tightly and said with emotion, "Mom, you know what? This is the first time I've done something just for the joy of it and to make you proud." Margaret was moved to tears. She realized that a mother's love is not only expressed through strictness, but also through daily encouragement and warm presence. When Benjamin fully recovered, he decided to stay at the ranch a little longer. He found peace in the slower pace of life there, alongside the mother he had once misunderstood. One day, Margaret sat in her rocking chair, watching Benjamin work in the fields. She smiled softly and murmured, "My son is truly remarkable." Benjamin turned around, walked over, and embraced her tightly. "I'm only remarkable because I have an amazing mother." Those words brought tears to Margaret's eyes. For the first time, she truly felt that her love had been fully received, and the sacred bond of motherhood had erased the distance of past years. The story of Benjamin and Margaret concluded beautifully. How about you? Have you ever loved your children so much that it unintentionally created a distance between you? Share your story with us in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe to our channel to encourage us to bring more meaningful stories to you. Help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Every bit of your support is a precious gift. Thank you, and see you in the next video.